Well, welcome to Real Moms Only, where I'm here joined by my daughter, Lyette Reback. My name is Lyette Reback, mom to 16 children, ages 9 to 30. I still can't believe when I say that sentence. I don't know how I have 16 children, and I certainly don't know how the oldest one is 30. But you are welcome to join me on this mission. I would love to share with each of you the things that I have learned as a parent, the things that have shaped me and helped me along the way. I will never say that I've done this job perfectly, but I've learned a lot. And hey, you know what? If I can teach you to avoid some of the pitfalls I've been in, or encourage you or inspire you on your journey as a mom, then that is what I am here for today. So thank you, Lyette, for joining me again for another episode of Real Moms Only. You are now a real mom yourself.
I can't believe that.
I can't, trust me, nobody is more shocked than I am that I have a grandson who literally is the cutest thing since sliced bread, beautiful red hair, and I love every single minute I get to spend with him. So today we are talking about raising our children with purpose, creating a family mission identity statement. I think this has been so important to us as a family, especially having so many kids helping us to stay on mission as a family. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Now, something that a lot of people don't really think of. I'm kind of a name person. I always think of what does this name mean? The name of this place, the name of this person.
I mean, we all have very unusual names.
Yeah, I did.
As kids.
As kids, we have different names.
Names are important.
Names are important. They always meant something to me. And, really, what does our last name mean? What should it stand for? What should it be known for? That's something that your dad and I always took pretty seriously. Now, it's interesting. My dad was a Marine, and when you are raised by a Marine, things are done a certain way.
For sure.
Things are done a certain way. The quarter has to bounce 18 inches or else you're redoing the bed. The brass has to shine a certain way or you're redoing it. Now, I wasn't that bad of a taskmaster, was I?
Oh, no, not at all.
No, not that bad. But I know that being raised the way that I was helped me to realize really early on, it's important to have a reason and a why behind what you're doing, especially when you're a mom and there's just so many little things to take care of every day. You can kind of get lost in the weeds, can't you?
Very easily. I mean, there's so much that I think about now. I mean, my baby's little, but when I look at this world, I was born before social media. I was born before exposure to everything that goes on every single day in every corner of the globe. There's, it's pretty much limitless. Then there's so many things that I think, oh my goodness, my son's going to have exposure to this earlier than I did. My son's going to hear and learn about things. And it's a wonderful thing, but it's also like those are going to become influences in his life.
It's a big challenge.
And more noise. And I don't know, how am I going to kind of curb that or encourage that or just not make him another voice in the crowd and not give him I don't want him to feel like he's floating without something to attach to as a family.
Really, really important point. And I think that this is so important because when you encounter the challenges of parenting, you really have to have something for your kids to root onto, to stand on, to know that this is immovable. Everything else can be up for discussion or debate, but there are some things that are just immovable. There are some things that I know to my core I need to be about. I need to hold on to very, very strongly. And along those lines, when you were little, and Riley and Bliss and Kemper, when you guys were little, I wanted my children to understand that Rebacks were going to be different. We're going to be different than most people. And that's okay as long as you understand why we're different and what we're being different for. Not to be different just for the sake of being different.
Exactly.
Right. Now, there's a lot of things this family is different for.
Naturally.
Yeah. It's funny. I asked some of my children before I came over here, I was like, okay, real quick, before I head out the door, what are we known for? What do you guys think we're known for? And of course, it's mostly the teenage boys at home.
Oh, no.
So, they're like, we're known for, being a huge family. And you know what? They're right. They're right. We are known for being a huge family.
We're a sports-oriented family.
We're a sports-oriented family. That's right. We're a sports-oriented family. We're known for being a big family. I hope and pray through the efforts of our organization, we're known for being a generous family,
right?
Reliable, those kinds of things. Really important to help your kids kind of ground themselves in who they are.
Like, how do you break that down? Like, how do you get it from being known for something, which is in and of itself something that, something awesome, but how do you start when they're little, building them into, this is what it means to be a Reback, or, like I'm in the process of changing my name, Adina Talent. Like I get a fresh start, I get to look at what's important to my husband, Dave, and to me, and kind of figure out what our little family's mission statement and little power statements are going to be. But, how do you actually get to define what your last name means?
Well, the good thing is you don't have to have it all figured out.
I know. I started thinking about it earlier.
I know. Well, probably because you hear me talk about this stuff all the time. But the truth is, these are things that you grow into, that you learn about yourselves over time. And, the important thing about having a family identity, mission statement, those kinds of things, is that it does help bring a sense of belonging and purpose. I thought this was really important, especially as we added to our family through the miracle of adoption.
Right.
I wanted those kids to identify as Rebacks day one, as early as they could understand that. And I don't think we've done that perfectly, but I think that has definitely helped. And I will tell you this, that a clear family identity helps you to build confidence and self-worth. It helps a child learn, as they're making decisions, what kind of behaviors line up, what kinds don't. And ultimately what you want is those behaviors to line up with those mission statements. And if the behaviors that they're doing don't line up, that it feels itchy inside. It feels bothersome inside to them.
So it would be so clear that someone that's, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 would be able to directly apply it to whatever circumstance they're coming into.
100%. And this helps the earlier that you can identify it. But, if you've got a 17-year-old and you've never thought about this, you're never too late to the party. One of the things, so these are some of the things, I'll tell you how we developed them. So when you were a little bitty baby and we started doing swim lessons, and you were such a funny duck, you would get all nervous in the car and you would start crying in the car, and you didn't like going to swim lessons, which is hilarious because you eventually became a really great swimmer. But at the time, I didn't know that. No. I didn't see 19-year-old Daly K. I saw 15, 18-month-old Daly K. And I remember you would just get so scared. And so I started singing this silly little song to you, and in the line of Real Moms Only and being vulnerable, heads up, I can't sing. I'm going to sing my little song that I know every one of our kids knows this song, but I started singing it to you to help and by the way, I was really singing it to you. I think I might've been singing it to me because I was also scared. I didn't like seeing you scared. I didn't like seeing you worked up. So I think this might've been more for me than you. I don't know. But I used to sing, we are the Rebacks and we are fearless because we know everywhere we go. She's bouncing around. Jesus loves us and protects us. And then you added the fabulous line at the end.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was your contribution to the song. Now that sounds like a really silly little song. But you know what? When we pulled up into the parking lot for swim practice, I'd start singing it. As we're walking into the pool for swim, I'd be singing it. And what was funny to me was over time, that same swim coach, as siblings would come along and they would not want to go into swim and they didn't want to do practice or whatever, she would start singing it when we walked up.
It's pretty catchy.
It is a catchy little tune. And that song, whenever my kids have gone into big games or big competitions, or whenever they're worried about a test or something.
We do some pretty fearless kind of stuff.
We've done some fearless things. Sometimes we sing that song.
Yeah.
In the van when we're about to take off and do something, right? Being fearless is something that is really, really important because ultimately we're not going to let fear stop us from doing what we're called to do or what the right thing to do is. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to do the right thing, especially as teenagers. We're not going to let fear of others, of consequences, stop us from doing the right things.
Right.
We really strive to be a faithful group of people filled with faith, right? We're going to be in church on Sunday mornings. We're going to do our verse memorizations. We're going to have a Bible study at our breakfast morning meetings. Getting kids to understand how important faith is.
And I think also the difference is instead of just, not only do we live out those things by being faithful and full of faith, I think a big difference here is we actually say the phrase, Rebacks are fearless, Rebacks are faithful. If a little kid is, worried about something, say, hey, you're worried about going off to advance this week.
They're on a mission trip. Yeah.
Here's the truth. Rebacks are fearless. So you know that you can go into this scary thing, being away from the family for 3 nights, 4 nights, which you've never done before, Stone, something like that.
Yeah.
Rebacks are fearless. So you know that as a reback, you can kind of embody that.
This
you
is
can
your
kind of
chance.
step into it.
This is your chance.
It's more of an encouraging way to coach a child towards the behavior instead of focusing on the negative.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be scared. Okay.
Well, that doesn't help.
I mean, now I'm thinking more about being scared and why I'm scared than the fact that I'm a reback and I'm fearless.
Yeah. This is my way to become fearless. Yeah. Overcoming these fears. And I say all the time to the kids, you might be scared, but do it scared. Do it anyways. Right?
Exactly.
Rebacks are loyal. We're going to stand by our friends. We're going to stand by our people. I mean, you have to
almost to a fault.
To a fault sometimes. Yeah. But we're going to be loyal. We're going to be honest. We're going to be diligent. I mean, that's one thing that, I always tell the kids, like you don't have to be smart to make it far. I have a lot of smart kids, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying diligence is the key to success and overcoming.
100%.
Not so much intelligence. Intelligence definitely helps, but you can be dumb and diligent and still get far in life.
But
if you're smart and lazy, ain't nobody going to help you.
Yeah, we could do an entire podcast episode on that.
Yep, that's something I preach all the time. And we're going to be patriotic. Listen, this country isn't perfect, but we're going to love her.
It's what we have.
And we're going to serve her, and we're going to do the very best we can to make a difference in this country. So these are some of the things that are part of our mission. Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of families believe that, well, yeah, those are my values too. And my kids are just going to learn that by me going about my day and watching me.
Sure.
Right? That makes sense. And by the way, they don't have to be like me in these ways. They can be their own thing. But what's the truth about that kind of thinking?
Like, I see the idea. The thought is, oh, well, the kids will figure it out on their own. They're independent thinkers. I mean, I see the appeal because it makes you look like, a very open-minded person. That's great. But the problem is that kids just don't pick up on values naturally. You have to, besides living it, verbally repeat it. I think it makes a huge difference when you verbally have it written out, have it down somewhere. You actually have the purpose that our family exists for.
Yeah.
I don't know. You mentioned earlier, even businesses have mission statements and core values.
Vision statements, core values.
I mean, those are things that are common in the workplace that, sometimes they're corny, sometimes they're great, half or the other. But why not have one for your kids? Like, there's no reason to not have one.
Right.
And I do think that kids do need leadership. They need guidance, and they need a little bit of just honest to goodness. I feel like everyone is vying for your child's attention.
Oh,
You're
going to fight for it as a parent.
Yeah. Culture, peers, media, they'll be giving your children core values.
Yep.
One way or another.
One way or the other. So, somebody's going to be doing it. So you need to do it. And I will tell you this from my experience now. How many children over 18 do I have? 9. I have 9 children over 18. 9 kids over the age of 18. And I will tell you that not one of them has done it perfectly. That's fine. That's not, the call is not to raise a perfect family or to be a perfect person. There's only one person that ever did that. And it certainly wasn't me. A strong family identity is going to help give your child that foundation to stand firm upon when they're facing challenges. And I will tell you that even repeating simple phrases like the Rebacks are fearless, the Rebacks are loyal, like that really, all of these things really make a big difference in helping them to make decisions. My husband is a very good athlete. I am athletic. Ish.
Yeah, pretty athletic.
Well, never competitive by any stretch of the imagination. But the fact that our family has made sports and athleticism a core part of who and what we do.
We can't go a day without working out.
No, but here's the thing. When you overcome physically, even if it's me breaking a 9-minute mile, if you overcome physically, hey, that was a big deal for me. You're laughing at me. It was a big deal for me. Listen, she's doing Alcatraz in June. I'm
still running 9-minute miles myself, so it's not like I'm that much better. I'm just laughing because it's a relatable goal for people that are starting running.
Yeah, I still, here's the thing. You set these mission statements and you begin to work overcoming physically things, then you can begin to come overcoming things mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Yeah.
All of these things help give your kid a foundation. I'm reminded of there was a time years ago. Oh my goodness, we were doing this race. It was on the West Coast, and
it was a kids triathlon.
It was a kids triathlon, and it will remain nameless because
let's set the stage.
Okay.
This wasn't just any kids triathlon. It was the kids triathlon that all the other kids were going to be at. My dad packed up like 6 bicycles, all of the stuff for us to stay over there for 3 days.
Yeah.
It was a whole ordeal to get there. And, if you've ever seen my dad at a race, he's always organized meticulously. And there were 6 little kids running around. I mean, I swear, I was probably like 10 or 11. I wasn't that big.
Yeah, you were like 10. Yeah, you were 10.
There were a whole bunch of kids all racing in our family. And to set the stage like that, it was one of the most competitive kids race of the year. Where it's basically treated like the Olympics for 12-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is there were Olympians there with their kids. Like
Even funnier.
This was the funniest part. And all of these kids came. Now, triathlon had changed. Children were not just competing on their Barbie bikes anymore, except for my kids. They still had their Barbie bikes with their streamers and their pink Barbie swimsuits. But a lot of the other kids had come and they were in their tri-kits. They had, bazillion-dollar bikes. It was a very big deal.
I feel like it was the year that they had invented like those kid-size fast ones.
So this race... they had set it up where you would do 2 laps on the bike. Fatal flaw. 2 laps on the bike. Now,
for a bunch of 11-year-olds and under that were just learning how to count.
Yeah. So and all the way down to 5. So it was like, I think it was age 5 to 12 were in this race. And so race starts. Out you go swim. Great. Hop on the bike. Great. And now everybody is biking to beat the band, going as fast as they can around this loop. And here we go. Everybody starts on their second loop. No. Whew, gone. Disappear. Where is everybody?
No second loop.
No second loop. Everybody's in. Now, Daly does her second loop. Riley does her second loop. Bliss does her second loop.
Listen to the instructions.
You would listen to the instructions. Now, they weren't perfect children by any stretch, but this was one example where they got it right. Now, race is over. It's time to give out the gold, right? They're going to give out the awards. And
the coveted medals.
I have to tell you, I have a picture of this. We'll have to see if we can find the picture to put up on social media because it is so funny. It's not funny, but it was really funny because Bliss quickly determines. She's looking at the times.
Because they print out the times on the wall, right?
Results. And so Bliss is like, wait a minute. You're telling me that kid over there did 2 loops in half the time it took me? No way. So
she also apparently, from what I remember, had yelled at a kid on the bike who had turned in because they had been biking together the whole time. And the kid just turns in after the first loop. And she's like, no, you have to go 2 loops. And the kid didn't listen. So she already knew. She had physical evidence that it happened to another child. And what did she even do, though?
So then and I'll never forget because I remember exactly what she was wearing. She was wearing this little Gymboree swimsuit that was one of my favorites. It was white with little navy blue and baby blue whales on it. It was so cute. Oh. And she had her little blonde bobbed hair, like all, if you know Bliss as an adult, you can just see her as a kid, blonde, wet hair all over the place.
Helmet head.
Yeah, missing teeth. And she's peeved. And she goes up, and I remember the race director. I'm still good friends with him. Actually, I love this guy, but Bliss just marches right up to him, and she's like, hey, we got a problem. And she says, these kids that you're about to give these awards to, they did not do 2 loops.
Fearless.
That's fearless.
She's in front of everybody.
Yeah, and the whole tent's full of hundreds of parents and kids. And this guy's like, what? And she says, yeah, look at this time. You think that's that kid over there. You think that kid beat me? I mean, she is peeved as can be. And the look on her face in these pictures is priceless. And so this guy, to his credit, really does try. He's like, all right, parents, we have some unsettling news from the front here. Apparently, a lot of children did not do their second loop.
It was most of it.
And so if you know that your child did not do the second loop, I need you to come up and, voluntarily disqualify your child from the results.
And I remember looking through the crowd at Bliss's face when he said that, and she was stood there popping mad because
she stood there on that stage next to him, her arms crossed, and she is staring down every single person.
She's looking at the kids that did it.
She knows. And the point I'm bringing up is
fearless.
She was fearless. She was loyal. She had integrity. Now, listen, I love Bliss to death. She's not a perfect person, but at the end of the day, this was a core value, and it was really important because so was athletics.
Yeah.
And
And at 7, 8 years old, it was strong enough around all of us that we had that courage to make that very difficult decision I mean, there was no way if Bliss did this, any of those kids would have been her friend.
no, no.
There was no way that the parents were going to turn in their kids either, because why would you do that? You just paid for an event. But it was really pretty, poignant, and just kind of stood out when we were thinking about this episode because, I'm pretty sure that Bliss's personality type is strong enough that she would have made a splash no matter what at that age, wherever she was. But it gave her a lot of the power because she didn't just figure out how to be fearless on her own. She was actually able to think about, oh, I'm a Reback. I'm fearless. I do the right thing. Those kids did the wrong thing. We got to call this out.
Yeah. And by comparison, I'll tell you, there was another race more local here where it was a 2-loop race. And one of my kids did not do the second loop. And that kid had to go up and voluntarily disqualify themselves from the, and it was shame at the family dinner because how could you, Bliss, what you called out all those other kids for doing the same thing? How could you do this? Well, whatever. But the point is,
grow and you learn, and
you learn. You grow and you learn and you change, and that's a big deal. But I think that having these core family values will help your kids stand against the peer pressure, which, heads up, everybody, is way harder than anything we faced as kids. You have to acknowledge that right now. What my kids are growing up in, pressure-wise, is way different than what I grew up in. Listen, I got home from school at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Peer pressure was off until the next morning I showed up at school.
Oh.
Not now. These kids are facing it 24 hours a day, all the time. As long as there's a phone or a computer near them, they are facing it. So listen, really important. In order to be able to begin to create this family mission statement or to know these things, you have to define your core values. What's most important to you? What's most important to your spouse? What kinds of things would you like your family to be described as in the future? Keep it short. Keep it memorable. Our last name stands for faith, courage, serving others. I kind of turned our last name Reback into, hey, we're going to turn back to our traditional values. We're going to hold on to the things that made this country great in the first place. We're going to hold fast to some things that are really going to stabilize our family, our community, our country at large. And you've got to make it a team effort. Bring the kids in on this. What do you want to be known for?
Right. Every kid has a dream.
They do. What do you want to be known for? Keep it fun. Make it a discussion over dinner, and you're not going to discuss it in one dinner and figure it out. It's going to be over the course of weeks and months. And then put it into action. Sticky notes on the right and whiteboard, on the fridge.
I mean, if it was me, I'd get it made in Etsy and
of course,
printed on the wall.
Of course, you would do
something
that.
Adorable.
Absolutely. But then what's really cool is that you can use this for decision making. I once had a Gold Star mom. This is the sweetest thing ever. She lost her son, who was a Navy SEAL. He was killed in action. And above her door, when he went off to train for buds, she had placed in a frame, "Return with Valor."
Oh, that's so cute.
And so she gave that to us years ago. And we put that above our door, "Return with Valor." And the idea is, listen, you're going to go out this door and stuff's going to happen. But come back with valor, with honor. I really love that. And, when your kids are faced with something difficult, maybe they want to quit. Maybe they want to quit swim or baseball. Maybe they're doing terrible at school. I had a kid recently come to me and say, I'm just not a student. Like, what if I just, all these other kids, I friend this person, that person, this person down the street, they're not finishing school. What if I did that? Oh my word. No, sir. Rebacks are not quitters. You are going to finish this, and you are smarter than you think and better than you know. Like, just keep plugging. You're going to get there. And his grades have turned around, and he's doing much, much better.
You got to call that out, though.
You do. You do.
You got to have that, we don't quit kind of mentality. You got to have that kind of already in the family as a mission statement to use. Like, oh, yes, it's one of our core truths.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. And ultimately, your identity in Christ, who you are as a believer. What does God have to say about you? Really important, because God wants you to be an overcomer. Even when you feel weak, He is strong. Even when you feel incapable, His wisdom can get you through the situation. So all of these things building up their identity in Christ, start here with the family. What can they see? What can they believe about you, mom and dad? What can they believe about their families? But you ultimately always push that up the ladder to Christ. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Like even Jesus had a family mission statement.
Yeah.
Unless I'm...
What would you think that was?
I feel like I think there was a verse in Luke where he said, "For the Son of Man came," like that's his actual reason, "to seek and save the lost." That sounds like a personal mission statement / family mission statement to me. And he used that to train up all of his disciples, which were very much family,
a rowdy group of boys.
Yes, into calling them into their next phase of life and their calling and how they could impact others as well. So I feel like Jesus also used this.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Could work for families.
I think that makes a lot of sense. If you haven't ever thought of this before, if you've never thought about your family having a mission statement, or what you want to be known for, it can start as simple as just asking God to help you figure out what that looks like. What are you supposed to be known for? What your family's supposed to be known for is very different than what my family's supposed to be known for. It's very different than what your neighbor's family's supposed to be known for. Ultimately, should be glorifying God. Ultimately, should be helping, serving, loving others. I always say in our family, we love Jesus first. We love our country second. We love our family third. I know that sounds backwards, but follow me on this. If we love God the most, and then we love our country enough to make ourselves
our neighbor,
the best person that we can be, to fit in and be the right puzzle piece to help in our part of what our community, what our country needs. Ultimately, that's the best way to fit in, right? To fulfill your mission statement and your calling. Listen, this week, I encourage you all, sit down with your kids, with your family, come up with a family mission statement. It's a messy process. They're going to have some really dumb ideas.
And don't overthink it.
Yeah, they're going to have some great ideas.
Yeah, they could have great ideas. They could have crazy ideas. It could be something. I feel like if I asked Verity to come up with something right now, she'd say something in those Gen Alpha terms that I don't even understand. But it would probably have a real meaning for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you don't overthink it, you keep it simple, you keep it repeatable and applicable, you're going to have at least something to build off of, instead of it just being, oh my goodness, I can't believe that my son or daughter did this.
No. And listen, I've had lots of times where I've thought, I can't believe my son or daughter did this.
Right.
But you know what I ultimately called it back to? I would say, but that doesn't line up. What this mess that we're in right now does not line up with Rebacks have integrity. Right. Or Rebacks are honest, or Rebacks are loyal.
Rebacks are diligent.
Yeah. Rebacks, hey, listen, we're meant to be a light. Are you shining a light right now, or are you making a big mess? Hold up a second.
Makes it easy. Reel
it back in. Line it back up with our values. Because, again, when they've been brought up in this, it's been repeated, it makes it so itchy when they're not walking according to that. Listen, you know what it feels like when you're not walking according to your authentic self.
Right.
It feels very itchy. It doesn't feel right. It feels like you're wearing the wrong size shoes. You want your kids to have that same feeling with their attitudes, behaviors, their speech, all of those things. So listen, think about these things. Listen, if you've got questions, you've got challenges, this is a big kind of like heady idea. Last week we went over how important a routine was. I said that wasn't sexy, but it was really helpful. Right? This week I had some things come up and I was like, man, focus on the routine. I had to call myself back to my own basic thing.
Right.
This is more of a heady idea, but I want you to know this kind of idea right now, if you've got little kids, if you've got medium-aged kids in middle school, these kinds of things can help you in high school,
over time.
In college. It helps, calls them back to, hey, wait a minute. How does this really reflect who and what you are, who and what we're called to be? And I think it could really, really be helpful. I know it's been helpful to our family. And listen, next week, we're going to do something a little bit more practical, especially as we're heading into Easter. We're always heading into a holiday season. Next week, we're going to talk about traditions to help us build stronger kids, stronger family connections. I like that idea too. And so I want you to be
family
thinking.
Traditions are fun. You can have a ton of fun with that.
They are, and they are also meaningful, and they are also reminding your children who and what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we are the Rebacks, and we are fearless. We were fearless starting this podcast off, weren't we?
There we were.
Don't really know what we're doing, but we're learning and growing.
We're 4 weeks in, so we're consistent.
We are. And listen, I just want to encourage each of you out there. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank you for connecting over social media. If you have any questions or challenges that you'd like us to discuss, please send us a message. We'd love, love, love to encourage you along your walk as a real mom. Thanks for listening to Real Moms Only. I'm Lyette Reback, along with my daughter, Daly Kay.
Alrighty. Have a nice one.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week.